Are we good? All right. Well, David, welcome. This is this is a cool opportunity for me. You and I have been in this field of working with people for a long time.
Thanks, Clark. Glad to be here. No friends like the old friends.
Right? Well, as I was thinking about what to do, I want to just get discussion going. I want to get some ideas flowing on um, how to continue to help in different ways. Um, so I just wanted to start with you, I guess. If I could do a little background, we've known each other for a long time, but share a little bit about your history, what you're doing now, how you got into this, and what keeps you going.
I was teaching math for years. I was passionate about the subject. And I remember working with one kid when I ran my tutoring and test prep shop, Clark. I was on fire about the quadratic formula, eager to communicate my understanding and my love, and the kid became more and more disengaged. You know me. If you don't understand how to factor trinomials, we'll multiply binomials. I'll teach you the multiplication tables just so we can connect about math. The kid was shrinking into himself like he was a plant folding up. Finally, as I leapt around the office drawing equations on the whiteboard, I said, David, you're an asshole. And I was all offended, and I called his mom and I said, I can't teach Johnny math because he has insulted me. And I had an epiphany, Clark. I said, why am I teaching mathematics? I should be teaching children. So I went into special needs, emulating you and the good work that you do. How'd you get started in special needs? How'd you get started in therapeutic work?
It started a long time ago, obviously. When I look back, it actually started when I was a kid. And in my family, there was conflict, and there was, I remember the scary feelings as a kid. And I think, if there's something I can do with my life that would help one kid not feel that, or one family kind of come together in a more productive way, I think that's what I want to do. And I started into that, and I ventured off into family therapy and working with families that were struggling with different kinds of things. But it's still, I always was drawn back to working with not just the individual, but teenagers and even young adults. And so this goes back 20 years.
With an easy question, I understand that you have a pretty sophisticated academic profile and some graduate degrees. Did you want to make a note of that?
Well, okay. So I got a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. When I was in that program, and I was experiencing my own stuff, right? There were some interesting dynamics around money. So I kind of went to the meanings of money and its impact on relationships. And I went into consulting family-owned businesses and things like that. But it all kept coming back to, how are we helping the one? And with that, I was chasing the academia track for a while. Went to, just got to a place where we thought, you know what, let's stop. Let's get to a place where we just want to raise our kids. And let's refocus. And that's where, long story made short, got into the wilderness therapy track, invited by a friend of mine into Outback back in the day. And started.
What kind of work did you do at Outback? Were you a field staff, therapist?
Yeah, started as
how to make fires without matches? What'd you do?
I did that too. Started as a primary therapist. So one of my the cool thing about that is having them teach me, how do you make fire? How do you set up your shelter? What's it like being out here in the middle of nowhere? And really got to bond through experiential sharing. And that just kind of moved forward into residential treatment, back into helping to start a wilderness program and another residential. And so here I am working with young adults, almost 20 years later.
Speaking of 20 years later, I spent a night with some kids out in the woods recently, and it's different as a 63-year-old trying to get through the night without having to wander off in 4 inches of snow every few hours for reasons that are better left unsaid in a family video. But oh my goodness, you've spent a lot of nights under the stars, haven't you?
We have, yeah. Well, those are some of the shared experiences that we've had.
What are you doing now? What's the most recent place that you have landed. How are you helping out? How are you healing, helping children, young adults, and families move forward? What's the latest?
Yeah, well, so that's kind of why I'm really interested in what you're doing, because I moved into working with young adults. I think what sparked it for me is the ongoing awareness, right? Research articles, social media posts about the growing rates of depression and anxiety among our nation's young adults.
Why do
I've
you think that is?
Well, that's why I want to bring you on to have a discussion about that. You
Honored.
use that phrase, failure to launch. And I don't really like that phrase. Here we started a program called Strive, where we work with young adults moving into college and try to navigate that a little more effectively. And what we're calling this comes from one of my partners, Shahara Christ. But she says, I like struggling to launch because we haven't failed yet. We're just not quite there.
Brilliant. Love it.
Yeah, I do too. But that's my question. You've been doing this for more than 20 years too. Do you think the failure to launch concept, do you think that's more prevalent today than it was 20 years ago?
I do, Clark, and I'll tell you why. The process addictions and the, if you will, the evils in this culture, a lot of them are new. When I was a kid, there was static, inappropriate stuff for us to consider. Drugs and alcohol are available in every high school in the United States of America. I've asked every kid in the past couple decades, how long would it take you to find marijuana? 20 minutes is the median answer.
Wow.
Lottery tickets weren't available. Online gambling. I asked a 15-year-old young woman, how many of the sophomores in your class have never seen internet pornography? She looked at me, she said, David, the same number of them who have never seen a French fry.
Wow, that's a great answer, and yet, wow, right?
The danger used to be outside the house. 100 years ago, in your family of origin, living on the prairie, step on a nail, you get tetanus, you die. Drink water from where the chickens pooped, you get a horrible gastrointestinal disease and you die. Now, the danger has come inside our home through screens, which are addictive. And I love your phrase, but I'm just going to say failure to launch has more to do with the dangers that are inside the house. And all you have to do is look at the paper and understand why the good kids might be hidden. That's why I like your program. That's why I like you. And in our next video, I want to hear a lot more about it.
Perfect. All right. Well, but help me before we move off that. What do you think is the mechanism, right? I get that now it's internal. What is it about that creates a barrier from moving forward with more competence, even confidence?
Because parents, understandably, you and I are both tied at 4. We got 8 kids between us, although not with one another.
Right.
I can certainly respect and understand how families would want to stand up for, rescue, enable, soften the blow for kids. They see a hyper-competitive atmosphere in college admissions. They see that jobs are not easily available, and they feel that, just like the view of abortion that suggests an embryo is still a fetus until it has graduated from medical school, it's tough out there. My wife, as you know, teaches 4th grade. She has medical professionals doing science fair projects for 10-year-olds. I completely understand and am sympathetic to parents who want what's best for their kids. They just don't understand that by doing it for them rather than with them, they're putting their kids at a disadvantage.
So it's really more of a systemic process that's maybe evolved out of quote unquote necessity or protection or survival. But it does seem like it's bigger than the individuals are managing differently, more systemic.
Brilliantly articulated. And in our next video, let's talk about what we can do to help parents overcome that.
Let's do it.
Thank you,
David,
Clark.
you're awesome. Thanks,
Pleasure.
man. All right. See ya.